to welcome Kevin McAllion to Crystal FM. Kevin has recently written a book called Moristoun, which he is going to talk about today. But first of all, I'd like to say to him thank you for driving through from the west of Scotland, East Lanarkshire to be precise, is it?
Yes, I have a good one.
To talk to us about the book. But before we discuss the book, could you let our listeners know a little about your background? I know you were a reporter.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit about your background and how you came to writing?
The journey to writing actually started here through Edinburgh. I was at Napier University for my studies, doing a journalism degree. And whilst I was doing that, as a kind of weekend thing, I was doing match reports and work for the Sunday Mail newspaper. So I started off doing lower league football games in Scotland, and I gradually progressed up the ladder to do more important games, and then that ended up, once I finished university, I went to work for the Big Issue in Scotland for a year, and after a year there, I was offered a full-time job at the Sunday Mail as a result of all the work I'd done for them over the years. There was one problem at that time, in that I'd always planned to go to the 2002 World Cup with my friend as the start of a journey around the world for a year. So I told my boss that, but he was gracious enough to actually let me take the job and see after a year if I would change my mind. So I did the job for a year as a reporter. Quite enjoyed it, but not enough to abandon my dream. So off I went with my friends to the 2002 World Cup in Japan and Korea. So went there, watched, had a wonderful time travelling around. Then we stopped off at various other places, one of which was Thailand. We'd only scheduled to stay in Thailand for a week or so, but we loved it there so much that the final leg of the journey was supposed to be Australia. But after 2 or 3 weeks in Australia, I was missing Thailand so much that we went back there. So I stayed there for 18 months, working as an English teacher in Thailand, and then eventually kind of got homesick and came back and picked up work again for the newspapers with the Sunday Mail and the Daily Record. I'd always wanted to do a novel, and that was just a question of finding the right story. I'd always started 2 or 3 different ideas and never really got anywhere and abandoned them. But then Moristoun came along and I had the idea of the ending first, and I was allowed to kind of work backwards from there. So I'd always had an idea in my head of how the book was going to end, and that helped me get along and get it finished in the end.
So in the end was your beginning?
Yes.
Do you know who said that?
I know that one.
Mary Queen of Scots. She said her last words on earth were, "In my end is my beginning."
Oh, yeah.
So there you are, you followed in Mary's shoes because you work backwards. Now, I do a strange thing. I don't know if you've ever met anybody else who reads the last page of a book before she starts the book.
Oh, no, you're certainly the first.
Yeah, I always start at the end of the book, read the last page, and I decide if I like the last page to buy the book or read the book. I don't know why, but I believe there are other people who do this. It's a strange thing. And when I found out you started at the end and worked backwards, I thought, oh, maybe he's got a brain like me.
It certainly works that way with newspapers. I read newspapers in the back. So.
That's because the sport is at the back. And you did a lot of sport reporting, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's always football you reported on, or other sports?
No, I did a bit of golf as well. Golf is actually more enjoyable than football. It's certainly set up to be geared towards making life easier for the press, whereas footballers don't want to speak to you. You have to really hassle them to get you to speak. But in golf they get in trouble if they don't speak to the press. They get fines and things like that. So.
Why is it? Does she think the press give footballers a hard time?
I think so, yeah. I think golfers tend to be a bit more relaxed as well, and more willing to talk about it. Even if they've had a bad round, they'll stand and talk to you. Where a footballer after a red card doesn't really want to speak to anybody. I
can imagine. But in your book, you use football as well, don't you? You have two teams.
That's right, yeah.
And the two teams play very competitively. And you made the comment that, there's rivalry in sport, and footballers are very, very serious about their game. So you used your experiences of reporting on football, and you put that into your book, didn't you?
Yeah, it was more really a consequence of the actual time I was writing the book, which was around about 2012 I started writing it. And that was when you had the big, massive story of Rangers with their trouble with their finances and they were going in administration and liquidation. And I was having a lot of that at work, and you get a lot of chat on radios and things. And what I found is that there were certain Celtic fans that would rather Rangers went out of existence completely and didn't come back. So I wanted to reflect that in the book, and the fact that there's only two teams in the whole island. And if one of them has a problem and is threatened as well, if they basically go out of existence, then there's not going to be any football in Moristoun. But you still have some fans in one team in Moristoun that still want the other team to go out, even if it means that there's no more football again. So it was really a kind of comic reflection on that that I wanted to put into the book.
In other words, I hadn't really thought it through.
Yeah. And that was quite a lot in Moristoun, people didn't think things through.
Because Moristoun, which we'll speak about soon, Moristoun is like, the more knowledge you get, that is your destiny.
Yeah.
Would you put it like that?
Yeah, the main thing in Moristoun is that it's a realm where everything stands still. When you're there, you don't age, your body stays in the same state for centuries, if that's the way. But there's one way to kind of, if you want to move on and get to a higher realm and such, the one way you can do that is there's a book that explains all the mysteries of life in Holliday Library, but it's written in 7 different classical languages. So if you want to understand the book, you've got to first learn all these difficult languages. But basically, because humans are lazy and lack motivation and desire at times, hardly anybody in Moristoun is bothered to tackle the 7 languages. So there's only a few people who have actually read the book and have the knowledge that will move them on.
And worked that out, that knowledge is power, but knowledge will take you to your destiny.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about your book, but first of all, we'll have your first piece of music. Now, I asked Kevin to bring along 3 pieces of music, and his first choice is Tinfoil by the Hanson Family. Can you just tell us why you chose that one, Kevin?
Yeah, the Hanson Family are one of my favourites for a long time. I like the way they're a husband and wife duo from America. And the wife writes the lyrics and the husband does the music, and the wife's lyrics are brilliant. They're very dark and lots of depth to them, which I think influenced my writing, because Moristoun's a kind of dark black comedy at heart, really. So there was a wee influence of the Hanson Family in my writing, and the song itself is about how nothing lasts forever as well, which is quite, I thought it linked in with Moristoun quite well, in that if you want to move on and reach a true meaning, you have to leave things behind. So that was the reason I chose that track today.
Well, we'll listen to that now, and then we'll come back and have a talk about the book and the subject matter of the book.
It's hard to believe you will ever be dead. But that dream where you're falling, your hands at your heart, is the bird on your shoulder who whispers goodbye. What is holding always good? What has been scared will disperse. What has been built up will collapse. All your dreams evil to evil, shot Lies of the valleys and a month from her hair. Certain that skylight would fall on her head. Love is moving memories through. What has been gathered will disperse. What has been built up will collide. All your dreams fulfilled. One night I dreamed that I dug my own grave and climbed down inside to patiently wait. Down in the ground I breathed the cold air, and blackbirds flew down to nest in my hair. What is moving memories through? What has been gathered will disperse. What has been built up will collide. All your dreams fulfilled.
You will enjoy that track, and certainly different from what I usually play. I stick to the safe ones. Now, Kevin's going to talk to us about his book, Moristoun. Now, it has a very sensitive subject, a subject that's very difficult for a lot of people to talk about, and the subject is suicide. And the people that I've mentioned this to tend to make a bit of a face and go, oh, thinking, how can you write a book about that? So I'm going to ask Kevin to explain why he came to write this book, a bit about the background for it, and just to give you an idea, a flavour of what the book is about.
Yeah. The idea for Moristoun, I was watching the QI in my house, and they had an item on about suicide, so it got my mind ticking over to thinking about maybe writing something about it. And what I found is that a lot of the time with suicide, once the act has actually happened, the focus tends to be more on the family members or the friends that are left behind. People tend to think about how are they coping rather than thinking about what actually happens to the people once they've committed the act itself. So I thought it'd be good to speculate about what happens in the afterlife to suicide victims. So I wanted to make it specifically a very Scottish book, so I created this realm where it's only Scottish people that are sent to these islands once they've taken their own lives. And I hadn't actually been touched personally by suicide when I came up with the idea for the book, but by a kind of dark coincidence, about 3 or 4 weeks after I first had the idea and sat down and plotted it out, one of my friends from university took her own life, and that came as a real shock and gave me to reflect more on the subject. So I started to think about what kind of adventures that she might get up to in the next world, because she was such a joyful person, so full of life, and it just seemed so strange that would suddenly end and that would be the end of the story. So I started plotting about this whole world where you have people that have taken their own lives, but their adventure goes on in the next world. So I crafted this whole town where all different people with all their different backstories, and tried to push it towards a story that you would have somebody, an outsider, coming in and learning about the reality of the island. So what you have in the book is the main character, Buchan, has been there for maybe 200 to 300 years, and he's one of the few that have read the book, so he knows that he has to try and do good deeds to move on to the next world. So he volunteers to help out Scots on the mainland in present day from taking their own lives, and he's charged with stopping this other character called McSorley from pushing ahead and having a suicide himself. So he brings him back to work for him on Moristoun to try and build his self-esteem and make him feel better about himself. And the book is essentially about McSorley slowly finding out about the reality of Moristoun. But there's an added twist in that there's one other person on the island that is there but is still alive. She was brought there as a baby when her own mum died by suicide. So she's been growing up on Moristoun unaware of the reality of the island around her. So it's about McSorley kind of falls in love with this girl, and it's about how his fate becomes linked to her fate, and likewise as well.
Well, as I say, it's a subject that very few people really want to talk about because they think it's too morbid, and they're afraid, very afraid to talk about it because it kind of sends a shiver up your back. I personally have never had to deal with anything like that, but I have known people who've had to deal with it, and mostly the people, almost people who present a face to the world of smiley, happy face, but the internal agonies they're going through, it's never really picked up by a lot of people, and you get a lot of celebrities that do that. And I wonder, I think Scotland has a very high level, especially young men, suicide, especially in the north of Scotland. I have no idea why that is, but it seems sad that in this day and age they can't get the help they need. I know you can go to the doctor and get antidepressants, but that is not what it's all about. It's more about somebody listening to you, somebody sitting down, somebody trying to explain to you how you feel other people feel like that too, and seeing it through. And a lot of people just don't know how to cope. I think teenagers too. I think nearly every teenager I've ever known, including mine too, they go through a very difficult time, don't they, in their lives? And they're not sure where they're going or what they're doing, and they become quite sort of almost depressive. And that is a time where I think these young men take their lives. So you have touched on something that a lot of people just don't want to talk about. But you said you tried to make it like a dark humour. And you also bring in your background of knowledge of football, because you have football teams in Ireland, but music. And when I glanced through the music that's played to one of your characters when he suffers insomnia, 3 of them were Patsy Cline, and I thought, what a cheek. She would never sing me daft, she. Now, if I was wanting to sleep and feel relaxed, I would go and play Patsy Cline. And I thought, well, say one man's meat is no man's poison. Well, it's like that with music. I find that some music I listen to puts my teeth on edge, and other music makes it very calming. So it made me laugh when I looked at the choice of music that is played. So you obviously have thought about the music, you've thought about what happens in real life. And in real life, can I ask you this question, do you think what's happening nowadays with young people sitting at home a lot with their tablets, their computers, and I am not a technophobe, but I know a lot of the kids just come home from school, dump their bags and sit and play computer games. Do you think isolation is a cause for, suicide in young males especially?
Yes, I think definitely is. It's one of the messages that I put across in the book. The character I mentioned earlier that comes from the real world, McSorley, he finds that when he comes to Moristoun and spends time living there, he finds he's in a better mood, and he feels less, his insomnia goes away, he feels more upbeat. And one of the reasons for that is that on Moristoun there's no technology, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no TV, there's no broadband, all this stuff. So when he socialises, he has to go out and meet people and talk to them. So essentially Moristoun's supposed to be a place of purgatory, but he actually finds it more enjoyable than modern day Scotland, because he's freed from all these gadgets and all the social media, and he's engaging with people again, he's making relationships, he's forming friendships with people, because he's not just sitting at home on his phone or his computer. And one of the things you mentioned there is that I was looking at the stats on suicide, and the second highest country was South Korea, which is also one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world. In South Korea, they have broadbands on the subway, so even you see people on the trains miles and miles below the surface, they're still on their phones, they're watching videos on screens, and I think that is definitely a reason why the rates are so high in South Korea, and I think Scotland will reflect that going forward in the future.
Well, I think you're right about that, because I'm talking about, again, personal experience in my own family. They come to sit down for a meal, and when if they're all coming to sit around the table, I tend to make sort of a big dish that they can all help themselves from, and they're all sitting, and before I got the dish, they're all sitting on their phones, and they're on Facebook on their phones, and I now say, before we eat, please put your phones off, put them away. You don't put them up, but put them away. Just put them away, because I want us to sit down and talk as a family. Because I find that if I don't, they will eat with one hand and be busy looking at their phones with the other hand. And I think it kills conversation.
Yeah.
But you're so much younger than me, you won't remember. I grew up, and Colin here, our producer, he grew up the same time as me. We lived in very, what I call, tight communities, especially in Midlothian, because this was a mining community. And every town around here, apart from Penicuik, which was a bit different, it was the mills here, but they were all mining communities. Now, I literally had an auntie in every street in where I came from. Everybody knew everybody. And my mother was 1 of 10, so I did have an auntie in every street, and my father was born in the same town, so all his family were there. Now, we all mixed, played with our cousins, went home, put our school bags in, and I was off. I lived near a golf course, and I used to be off with my friends, gathering frog spawn, getting into trouble, collecting golf balls in the long grass and selling them on to golfers. We were out all the time. Now, when I watch, they come home, put their bags in, sit down, as I said before, they get these games on, and I keep thinking what they're missing. They're not looking at nature. They don't know when the seasons are turning. They don't know much about nature, and they don't go out and mix. So that must create a problem for the future for us. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, I don't want to sound like a Luddite here, but I think technology, for all the good it causes, I think it actually brings more harm than good. Obviously, advances in medicine, it's making a big difference, but in terms of the social aspects, and even take my hat off as a journalist here, it's causing big trouble for our industry as well, in that people aren't reading newspapers anymore, they're going straight on their phones to get all their news. So it's losing jobs, and it's losing jobs in other sectors as well, like in music and films and all this. I think it is causing big problems.
Nobody could foresee that, I don't think, when we started out, with computers, and it's moved on. Well, I'm a bit of a Luddite. I can get my emails, send emails, and I do go on the internet, but I really don't do my phone. Is really one of the old ancient phones, and I'm quite happy because I can phone out or get my calls. That's all I want to do. But I know they've got all these apps on them, and again, when I'm at a bus stop, people never chat like they used to. When they're waiting on a bus, they're all on their phones. They're all getting apps for when the bus is coming, etc. So I can see that there is a sense of isolation that could cause what we were talking about. And going back to your book, Moristoun, do you want to tell us how you came up with a name for Moristoun?
Yeah, and it's quite simple, really. It comes from, I think it's either Latin or French word for death, which is Maurice. And but I wanted to have a name that sounded very Scottish, so by putting the old Scottish spelling of town, Toun, it brings a word that essentially means Death Down.
Yeah, so
it also sounds very Scottish.
It sounds very Scottish at Moristoun, and it's a nice clever play on words. Do you know that J.K. Rowling did the same kind of thing when she had Lord Voldemort?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, well, if you look at Voldemort, and it's Vol is an anagram of love, Demore of death, and of course that character, that's what it was all about, death. So she used clever play like you. She took the translation more as of death and Vol anagram of love. I like things like that. She also used in that book where the kids went to get their wands, it was called Diagon Alley, but really it was diagonally, because that's how the kids came in, through a building diagonally. It was all very clever play on words, and I thought she was brilliant, and I was interested how you got Moristoun, and I thought you might have used something like that as well, which is another, I like clever play on words. And Moristoun is definitely a book that might put people off when they think that this is going to be all about sadness.
Yeah, it's not really though. It's not essentially a book about suicide. It's a book about what happens after suicide. There's no real. It tells a story and backstory of how everybody ended up there, but it's a very small part of the book. It's more about essentially a search for enlightenment. You have three characters in the book that all find enlightenment eventually through different circumstances. There's the character Hogg, who at the start of the book is in trouble with the law for something he's done on Moristoun. And there's the main character Buchan, and the character McSorley, who's the newcomer. And throughout the book, they all have a different journey towards enlightenment. And where the penny drops and they realise what is the meaning of life and what's the meaning of the afterlife. And it's really about these three characters taking that journey through Moristoun, through their own experiences in Moristoun.
Why did you meet the policeman in Moristoun, a foul mouse?
Yeah, well, I think
Did you just like the police?
I've not had any particular experiences myself that would lead me to that. I think every book needs a kind of villains in them. Everybody in Moristoun is quite likeable, with the exception of two characters, being the policeman and the character William Hughes, who is the owner of one of the football clubs. So it's just really to give that kind of edge where there's a villain in it. Although it does make it, I can't really have my daughter read it until she's about 15 because of the policeman's language in it. But
I see. I thought perhaps maybe had a dislike of the police.
Not really, no.
So you've given them a bad name.
I don't want to get any speeding or parking tickets. So.
Right, we'll move on to your second choice of music now, which is called In California by Neko. Can you just tell us a little bit about it before we hear it?
Yeah, Neko is another one of my all-time favourites. This song isn't actually one that's written by her, it's written by somebody called Lisa Marr, and she's covering it. And it's a song about someone from a rural community in America who's moved to California and is struggling to adapt because everything's so different in the big city through where it's sunny all the time. She can't really cope with it. So I thought it would be quite a good choice for talking about Moristoun, because you have the character McSorley trying to adapt from a change of world from modern day Scotland to Moristoun. So it's really the experience of somebody going through that change of moving somewhere and finding it difficult to cope.
Thank you. Now we'll listen to this track and I hope you all enjoy it. In California, I dream of snow. And all the places we used to go. your face when I showed you the ticket. Said you were happy for me. Your heart wasn't in it. Just a phone call away. Now there's nothing to say. As the days roll by, disconnected, in the land where the sun's always shining, I'm crying alone. Palm trees are laughing at me. Another fool playing songs that don't matter. For people who shatter endlessly. Another suicide on the 405. The Black Dahlia, she smiles and smiles. It's the same old town, the blood and dry. One more start and one more time, bound to make it do or die. Take a walk to Bonnie Bray, try to wash these dreams away. They tell me LA's beautiful when it rains. Welcome back to Book Corner, and Kevin and I are having a really interesting chat here about his book, Moristoun. I'm going to ask Kevin about where anybody who's feeling left out, not part of something, can go for help. And I do know there's a place called Chris's House. Could you tell us a little bit about Chris's House?
Yeah, one of the best things for me about the book coming out was that I wrote a story about the book in the Daily Records, and I was contacted a few days after the story was published by a lovely woman called Anne Brown, who runs Chris's House, which is a charity through in Airdrie. And Anne's own son died by suicide a few years ago, and after 2 years of deep grief, she set about thinking how she could help other people avoid the same problems that she went through. So she set up this house through in Airdrie where people who are feeling suicidal can go. And I remember you were saying previously about how talking about your problems really helps to get it off your chest. And it's not just people who are feeling suicidal, it's people who have been affected by suicide can go as well. If somebody's family members have died by suicide, then you can go there to help with the grieving process. It's a wonderful place. I went down there for 4 hours and spoke to Anne, spoke to volunteers, spoke to people who use the service, and it really does save lives, just through people sitting down and talking, having somebody there, a shoulder to cry on at times.
That's what we spoke about, not feeling isolated. There's somebody there to talk to. Are there any other places that you know about that do this service for the community, or is this a sort of one-off place?
Chris's House is quite unique in terms of Scotland. Anne's vision is to have more of them. She thinks that you should really have one in every town to help people out. The problem is that there's no funding really. She's relying on generating her own funding. There's no funding from government or local councils or anything. Obviously you have places like the Samaritans and mental health charities that do a great job as well. But again, these things a lot of the time are over the phone. There's Chris's House, they do a lot of stuff on Facebook and on the phone that you can actually go there as well.
And have contact with another human being.
Speak to people. And everyone at Chris's House has been through suicide in some way as well. They've all got experiences of it, so there's a lot of empathy there. They know how people are feeling. certainly any help that charity can get, they deserve all the help they can get because they're doing wonderful things.
I also know that there was a walk done here in Scotland, and it was from the darkness into the light.
Darkness into light, yeah.
Can you tell us just a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I actually took part in the walk myself. Darkness into Light is organised by an Irish charity called Pieta, and they've been doing them for quite a long time over in Ireland, where you walk. It starts off in the early morning, and while you're doing your charity walk, it's at the same time as the sun rises. So it's symbolic in that you're moving from darkness into light. And Anne was just involved in bringing that through Scotland for the first time 2 years ago. And she said it was a very cathartic experience for everyone that went on the walk because, again, it brings people who maybe previously had been dealing with the grief alone or with close members of family, but it brings them together with other people who have gone through the same experience, and they can all learn off each other and make new friends through doing the charity walk. And I actually took part myself this year along with my mum and my sister-in-law and my brother, because my sister-in-law's nephew sadly died by suicide as well a couple of years ago. That was not long after I finished writing the book, and she found it the walk very cathartic and a great experience as well to do it in honour of him and to raise some money for Justice House.
But it seems a shame that there's no help from our government, because we have our own parliament now, as we all know, in Edinburgh, and it's a great place. I really think it's a wonderful thing that you can go into Edinburgh and you can see your member of parliament. You don't have to go away to Westminster now, and you can lobby your own MSP. And our MSP here from Midlothian, Christine Greer, she actually has surgery in Tesco's. And on a Saturday morning once a month, she sits in Tesco's and people can go and talk to her. And it is a shame that there's not enough funding coming from our government here in Scotland, because obviously if we've got one of the highest rates of suicide, especially through our young men, we need to be doing something to help them. And I think you've been very brave to write a book which discusses this subject. And you were talking about the walk coming from the darkness into the light. That's like your book. They're going from the darkness into the light.
Yeah.
As they progress and they learn, and they learn from their mistakes, just learn in life what it means, and not being able to take the easy road. You pointed that out, that we as human beings are a bit lazy, but they have to learn. They have to go to the library in Moristoun and learn what life is all about before they progress onto the next plane. I think it's a very interesting subject that you've done, and I admire you for having tackled it. And I think that it'd be a very interesting book. Have you any plans for the future?
In terms of writing?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people want me to go back and revisit Moristoun in a way. But I think I've said all the things I want to say about the search for enlightenment already in Moristoun. I would need a really good story to go back into. Some of the key characters are still there at the end, so there is the possibility to go back and revisit them again, but I would really need to come up with a good enough story to go back through the characters again. At the moment, I've started writing a book. That's, as I said earlier, I lived in Thailand for 18 months, so I've always wanted to do a book that was based there, to use my experiences from Thailand. So I started tentatively the first chapter of a book about set in Thailand, so that's the next project. But
have you got the end?
I do have the end.
So you're doing it again.
You've got the way back there.
You've got your end, so you can work your way back now.
I did start another one. I had to write about 2 or 3 chapters of another book. I had an idea about taking on technology again, about an internet troll that took on an Elvis impersonator, and the Elvis impersonator then gets revenge on the internet troll. but I didn't know how to end that one, so
So you need to
shelves.
you need to know that that's the end, so now I can get to the beginning and work my way towards it. Now, that's a different way of writing. I know there's been a writers group on, and I think it's the Tyne and Nest Valley Writers Group that have been in here and have spoken about it. And I know that the advice that all writers groups give is to write about what you know. It's the easiest way to accomplish it. Say your first book. I went to a writers group just for a short time, and that was one piece of advice I was given too. Know your subject. Don't try and go into realms where you really don't know, and do your research first. And I think it's very good advice for anybody who's starting out thinking about writing. But it must be a great feeling to actually see your book in print and know that you've done this, and it should encourage you to go on and do another one, especially she's a little girl, Jennifer, she's only 3, isn't she? Yeah. So nicely, Daddy wrote these books, so won't that be an incentive too to write more? I think that our listeners, I will give them the title again, it's Moristoun, Moristoun, by Kevin McAllion. And you can get it on Amazon. It's in Moristoun's. You can get it all the usual channels, and you can ask for it up at our local library. And if any you decide to go read the book, I would like some feedback from you. It would be very interesting if you could phone in and tell me what your thoughts are on it. Now, on our last track now, and it's a Billie Holliday track, and it's called You Have Changed. Now, why did you choose this one then, Kevin?
Yeah, again, it's talking about earlier on about how Morrison's journey towards enlightenment for 3 people. So it's really, you've changed to reflect the change in the 3 characters, throughout the 3 central characters in the book, and the way they change to become enlightened in the book.
So we'll listen to Billie Holiday, which I'm sure is a pleasure to everybody. You've changed. That sparkle in your eyes is gone. Your smile is just a careless yawn. You're breaking my heart. You've changed. You've changed. Your kisses now are so blasé. You're born with me in every way. I can't understand. You've changed. You've forgotten the words I love you. Each memory that we've shared. You know every star above you. I can't realize you ever cared. You've changed. You're not the angel I once knew. No need to tell me that we're through. It's all over now. You've changed. You've forgotten the words I love you. Each memory that we've shared. You ignore every star above you. I can't realize you ever cared. You've changed. You're not the angel I once knew. thank you very much, Kevin, for coming today and talking to us about your book, Moristoun. I wish you well for the future. I'll be looking out for your next book, and I'm sure you're going to become a well-known author. And thanks once again for coming through to Penicuik. My directions, I know, were terrible, and the long way round, which is probably, if I leave Penicuik, I do Dalkeith to Peoples because I can't get lost. Anywhere else I get lost, my directions are pretty awful. But thank you very much for coming. I have enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I'll see you all again at the same time next week.